Nostalgic video games. We've all got them. Whether they're hidden gems or terrible abominations no one should have ever played. We still love them and wish we could relive that feeling of happiness that has long since faded from our adult lives. One of my most nostalgic games that's always been is Plants vs. Zombies. This game single-handedly turned me into a gamer, so I thought, what better to do than revisit this classic game and try and beat it as fast as I could. So that's what I did. I speedran Plants vs. Zombies, and this is how it went. For those of you who don't know, Plants vs. Zombies is more or less a tower defense game where you use different plants to keep the zombies from getting to your house and eating your brains. I know it's a simple premise, but that's what makes it such a good game. The first level is pretty easy, not gonna lie. There's only one lane for the zombies to come down, so it's really just a tutorial level for teaching you how to use sun. Sun is just the in-game currency that you use to get new plants so you can kill the zombies. With all that figured out, I literally just placed like 2 pea shooters and beat the level. It was really easy. Level 2 is pretty much the exact same as the first, except this time you have 3 lanes that you have to defend, and you have a new plant called the sunflower. Like the name suggests, the sunflower just allows you to grow your own sun, which is really beneficial later on when the plants are more expensive and sun is a lot harder to come by. But seeing as this is only the second level, I beat it in like 2 minutes. It really wasn't hard. So I'm sure you guys have realized this already, but there's a timer on the left side of the screen. I know, big shocker, but I'm going to be constantly behind on the time because when I downloaded the auto splitter, it came with the guy's time and he was a lot faster than me, so yeah, that's about it. Anyway, not much changes until level 4, where we finally have to defend all 5 lanes. It seems daunting at first, but it really isn't much of a problem, especially with our new cherry bomb, which blows up large groups of zombies. This is really effective for the final wave where they send a bunch of zombies all at once and they're all clumped together. We also have a new walnut, which is really strong and stops the zombies from running through all my important damage dealing and sunflower giving plants. With all these guys, I managed to beat the zombies pretty easily and was rewarded with a brand new shovel. The shovel just lets me pick up plants that I've already placed down, so not super cool, but it's still useful, I guess. Level 5 is our first minigame type level, and I love all minigame levels because they're always just super fun. Anyway, this particular minigame is called Walnut Bowling, and it's where you have to roll walnuts down the lanes and knock over the zombies like pins. Again, it's super simple, but what do you expect from an old kid's game? Pretty similar to the rest of the levels, this one's super easy and I managed to beat it without any trouble. And I'm rewarded with the single best plant in the entire game, the potato mine. This plant is the sole reason I can beat the game, and it's the only plant that I pick every single level from now on. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that later on when we get more plants, we can choose which ones to bring to each level. For right now it really doesn't matter, but later on it can get pretty important, but I'll worry about that later, I guess. For now, it's on to level 7. Level 7 is the first level to introduce multiple flags. The flags are just a marker for when the zombies are going to send a really big wave in order to try and overrun your defenses. Seems a lot scarier than it actually is, and in truth, it's not an issue. Anyway, we beat the level and got a nice chomper that I really don't use until later in the run, but he's still cool either way. Level 10 is another minigame level, only this time it's a little different than the last one. This time on our conveyor belt we're fed different plants to use to defend our house. It plays exactly like a normal level, only it's even easier, because I don't need to manage my sun. So keeping with the current trend, it was super easy and I didn't have any issues. After beating this level, we move on to the nighttime levels. These levels limit the plants you can use because some of them sleep during the night, which means if you place them, they just won't do anything. This, combined with sun no longer falling from the sky, means it's a lot harder to get sun and a lot harder to beat the levels. Or at least that would be the case if we didn't have an absolute goated plant called the puff shroom. This little guy carries me through the nighttime levels. He costs literally nothing to place, has a super quick recharge time, and you can just place him infinitely. It's super OP, and he shouldn't be in the game, I'll be honest. But because this is a speedrun, I abuse him as much as possible and breeze past all of the nighttime levels without an issue. Now, just because I had an overpowered plant doesn't mean that every nighttime level was just a walk in the park. The nighttime levels introduced 3 new zombies, that being the newspaper guy, the screen door guy, and the dancing guy. The newspaper zombie is just an old man holding a newspaper, and his whole thing is that if you break his paper, he gets really angry and starts running at you really fast. He's not an issue, you just place a bunch of plants and you don't even really have to counter him. Then there's a screen door zombie that's, well, holding a screen door. You can use your fume shroom to damage him through a screen door, making him pretty easy and kind of useless, I don't know. But finally there's the dancing zombie that summons 4 backup dancers all around him. And all these zombies are cool, but I know how to counter them, so there's never really a question as to whether or not I beat them. The levels were pretty easy, like I said. That being said, there was this cool whack-a-mole minigame that I thought was pretty cool and fun, and I thought you guys should see it. Anyway, let's move on to the pool levels. The pool levels introduce even more than the nighttime levels did. For these levels, there's 6 lanes you have to defend, and 2 of them are, well, a pool. This means in order to put any plants on those tiles, you first have to place this lily pad on there, which isn't a big issue, it's more of an inconvenience than anything. That being said, the first pool level went off without a hitch, and I was rewarded with this squash for my troubles.
Squash, let's go! Yippee!
Unfortunately, the next few levels weren't as easy. With the addition of the pool tiles, a bunch of new zombies were added that I didn't mention. Those zombies being a scuba dude who stays underwater unless he's eating your plants, a dolphin rider who jumps over your first plant in order to get behind your defenses and eat them, and also a zombie who somehow taught himself how to drive a Zamboni, and he pretty much just wants to flatten your plants. Oh yeah, and he also leaves a trail of ice behind him that if you don't get rid of, spawns in a bobsled team that slides through all of your plants, killing them. Thankfully, all of these guys are more or less easy to deal with if you're a professional like me, and all I needed for the Zombonis was a squash and some jalapenos, and for the scuba guys and dolphin riders, I just needed some tangle kelps, so again, not that hard. Anyway, let's move on to the dark pool levels. These next levels pretty much just combine the previous levels together and then add a splash potion of blindness for fun. There's a thick layer of fog that covers half of the screen, making it very difficult to pretty much impossible to see where the zombies are coming from. You can still place plants in the fog though, so I decided to formulate an ingenious idea that I call the spam method. For this method, you pretty much just spam. I tried placing a puff shroom on every single tile and just hoped that it would work. Which it did, until they added these balloon zombies. The balloon zombies fly over your defenses and completely ignore all the hard work that you put into your garden. Thankfully, we have just the plant to bring them back down to
easy level.
The cactus. Don't ask me how, but this cactus can somehow grow super tall and shoot the balloon guys right out of the sky, dropping them down to the ground where they become just another ordinary zombie. The other new zombie was the miner. The miner digs under all your plants and tries to eat them from behind. And to stop this, you either have to use a squash or a split pea. For levels with the miner, I just threw a split pea in every lane and that was enough to deal with them. There isn't really much to talk about with these levels. I just placed the cactus where the balloon guys were, split peas where the miners were, and spammed puff shrooms and sea shrooms everywhere else. It was pretty easy. And with that, let's move on to the final levels. The last 10 levels of the game take place on your roof. The gimmick these levels add is that your roof is slanted, so you need to use catapults to be able to hit the zombies. It's pretty much just an excuse to add new plants, but the new plants they add are just reskinned starter plants. We've got a new pea shooter. We've got a new ice shooter, but this one's yellow. Despite the lackluster new plants, we've got some cool new zombies. Those being the bungee guy, the catapult, and the gargantuars. The bungee zombies come from the sky to swoop down to steal your plants or drop off zombies during a big wave. They aren't really an issue, just another annoyance. Catapult guys stay on the right and they shoot basketballs at your plants from afar, which can be annoying, but they're also pretty easy to deal with. Gargantuars are the tough ones. They have tons of health and smash anything that they can reach. Also, when they get to half health, they fling an imp off their back into like the middle of your plants, which does a bit of damage, but they don't have much health to do anything. With all of these new things, we culminate to the final showdown, the magnum opus, the fight with Dr. Zomboss. The fight with Dr. Zomboss is a conveyor belt minigame like any other. You're given random plants and you need to both defend your plants from the zombies that Zomboss puts down, while also dealing enough damage to eventually kill him. The easiest way I found to do this is to just spam plants like normal, and when he bends down to spit fire or ice at you, you just spam all of your jalapenos and ice shrooms. That way you deal as much damage to him while also freezing him in place, so that your plants can do damage too. This was the only level where I came close to actually losing. Zomboss ended up throwing a full RV at my plants and killed like 6 or 8 of them, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting him to do that.
So he threw an RV on 6 of my plants. What the hell?
Even with that little speed bump, I managed to beat the game in 4 hours, 47 minutes, and 40 seconds. Looking at the leaderboards, that puts me at 238th in the world. Go me, I guess. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. It means the most. And comment any other nostalgic games you want to see me speedrun next. Have a good one. Peace.